want everybody from this moment on to recognize me as the scholar of boxing.
That's it, Tim. The ropes when he got hit with the beautiful shot back and forth. That's the right. Man, leans back and forth with a right hook. Most people don't know shit about boxing at all. Did you get what you was looking for?
Never. Like I said, we trained so hard in training camp that it may look easy in the ring, but these fights is never easy.
Something that works in one fight not necessarily works in the next. Here, as you can see, Errol Spence getting really physical with Derrick James on the mitts, and he was able to implement that in the Ugas fight. And it worked to perfection because it was a good strategy. But Ugas was fighting from an orthodox stance. Look here, Errol Spence grabs him with his left hand, moves his head over to where he needs it to with his physicality, and then bumps him off with the shoulders, and then lands an uppercut. Just beautiful sequence. But like I said, he was an orthodox, and he was squared up, and he was met force with force. But that's the power of film, because what worked in one fight won't necessarily work in the next. And Bud and his people have been studying this fight. So Terence Crawford met his force with a bladed stance. He bladed his body and just pushed him back. He didn't give him a squared up stance, and he was fighting from a southpaw position. So when Errol tried to lean on him, he just leaned back and created space and caught him to the body. That was the adjustment that he made in the fight, and it kept Errol Spence from doing what he did against Ugas. Like here, again, he cuts his body in half, splits him in half with a bladed stance, right hand over the top of his shoulders, left hand up to block the hook. And he just moved, subtle movement, and then Spence throws an uppercut and he blocks it with his left hand and parries it out the way. But he couldn't find space because he was smothering his attacks. And then in the inside, he would push him off. Spence tries to dip low, forces offense inside. He just takes a step back and catches Spence with a left uppercut to the body. And then Spence tries to counter that, and he just drops his elbow and blocks that body shot. Because he never let Errol Spence get started, he never got into a groove and like he did with the Ugas fight and had an effective body attack. Like right here, he's trying to use the arms, and he's pushing, and he's trying to land other shots, but it's just blocking the body shots and smothering them. And like I said, blading his stance so he's not squared up and switching from different positions in the inside. He switched there to orthodox to southpaw, and then just walked around him, and he didn't stand directly in front of him. Errol Spence misses all his punches. But Bomac was the X factor in the fight with his game plan. Check it out.
All of his fights, he start off with a jab, and he hardly bring his feet with him when he goes to the body.
So that game plan nullified Spence's body attack, leaving him with only a jab. And they were even able to land counter left hooks like Derrick James just did with the mitts. Now the only thing left to do is to take away his jab.
Blackball me. He got a great jab. Was the jab. You take away his best attribute, and then,
What's your assessment of what he had to say?
He's strong, so we had to practice on a strong, firm jab.
Your strength becomes a weakness when someone takes it away from you, and they had a superior game plan. I had a dream that Bud knocked out Spence 5 months ago, and I told 2 of my closest friends. But the superior game plan was definitely Bomac. Bomac had him very prepared for this fight by taking away his strongest weapons. But it was all centered around Spence's wide base, basic fundamentals. Check this out.
Fucker's not fast as you. Any chance you get to try to counter over top, make it happen. He countered over top with the left hand, and he came back with the jab, a 2-1. That's when he dropped him.
Round up with a right hook to the ear, knock his equilibrium off with a hook, a double hook, and, to the ear.
And clearly.
But this is where he fucked up at. His legs is too far apart. So what he does is he brings his size down. He brings his height down. When you bring your height down, you start reaching as a fighter because your legs are too fucking far apart. You know what I'm saying? And then once you start stepping. If your feet is not fast as your hands, you always come up short. But his feet was slow, his movement was slow, and his hands were slow. So that just made it work perfect, right? So he got a good jab, he got a good double jab. Well, on his double jab, the fighter that he's fighting got to be somewhere placed at a certain place in the ring. You can't be still. Don't be still. You can't be still in the middle of the ring, and then once you get closer to the ropes, you got to move side to side or take a half a step back. Real simple.
With that being said, the all-time great list is ticking, and I think Errol Spence will answer the call. I don't think this is the end of Errol Spence. Errol Spence can do what's been done throughout history. Lennox Lewis, all of his losses were by knockout. He went back and avenged every single loss that he had in spectacular fashion, mind you. Like I said, I don't think it's the end of Errol Spence. I think he just had fundamental flaws that was taken advantage of by the better game plan in Bomac. But it's hard to convince me that a guy that came back from this should retire based off performance against people's pound-for-pound #1 fighter. It doesn't even make any sense. Ray Robinson, all those guys got losses. They all bounced back from their losses. They even tried to avenge it. When Roy Jones got knocked out by Tarver, he had a trilogy. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know what's going on with boxing fans, but Errol Spence can definitely bounce back. He just has to make tactical adjustments. And to Errol Spence, Texas, we still rocking with you, man. That one loss doesn't mean anything. It doesn't take away from what you accomplished with Ugas, who was coming off an impressive win against Manny Pacquiao. Like, we still fuck with you, Errol Spence. But anyway, it's the Boxing Scholar, and I'm out.